Hello, this is Ben, that guy with a French accent. And today I want to talk to you about a subject that is common to pretty much all role-playing games. And that is commonly called Session Zero. So without further ado, we're going to set up and try to explain what it is. So Session Zero is what game masters and players usually refer to when this formal or informal meeting between the prospective players of the game, and they talk about the game for the very first time. Usually what happens is the game master will pitch a game or several ideas for playing a game, and the players will be able to show interest or not, or express their own preferences, or even propose their own games, which the game master, the prospective game master, might want to run or not. So the goal, generally speaking, is to set a set of standards and make sure everyone plays together, so that later on, when if problems show up at the game table, you can always go back to that Session Zero and basically start diplomatically talking with the player, saying, do you remember when we talked about the basics of the game? This is the set of standards that we agreed to. And from there, you can rule and help adjudicate conversations and issues between players based on this. Basically saying, we've agreed that we wouldn't talk about this, or we've agreed that the subject of the game was about more this than that, so why are you do you keep getting off the main trail and doing other things? No. So that's basically to make sure that everyone plays the same game. It's important to note that a Session Zero will be more valuable to people who gather for the very first time to play a role-playing game together, or do not even know each other. You know, in the case of public venues and so on. The reason for that is that people who have played together for a while will know each other's habits, favorite games, rule systems, and what they generally mean when they want to, say, run a game of Dungeons and Dragons, or let's play Vampire the Masquerade tonight. People who know each other will know what that means. But in any case, it's always a good idea to set up the standards and make sure that everyone is on the same page before even starting the campaign or game session, so that everyone can know, okay, we're playing this, not that, right? All right. So from there, there are generally three big subjects you want to touch on a game sessions, on a Session Zero, right? The first of these is what game we're playing, and so that's basically, that starts with a pitch, right? Well, I have this idea of a Call of Cthulhu game that would be in the 1920s, and you would be club trotters, and there might be an expedition to Antarctica or something like that. You set up, you explain your idea to the players, and the players can just show interest, tell you, oh yeah, that's a great idea, or I would prefer, what about if we play Call of Cthulhu, why not go to South America? That's never done, and stuff like that, right? So this is it's not necessarily a negotiation, in the sense that, if you're the game master, you got to have the mindset of what you're playing and running. Especially in the sense that without passion from the game master, without the passion to running the subject matter, the game is going to be a flop. You need to have, as a game master, you need to be invested, have some passion in the subject matter of the game or session, right? That's how you communicate that passion to the players, and how the imaginative world takes off from there and takes a life of its own. Without that passion to start with, without that interest that drives you, That's gonna be painful. All right. So that kind of the pitch involves the game, the type of rules or the rules version of the game you're thinking to run, because there might be a big difference between game versions, depending on the brand or right. Um, Also, the play style. There are games, not all games, that are married to a certain play style, especially universal type rule system. By play style, what I mean is, are we playing sandbox? Are we playing episodic mission type games, investigation, globetrotting, spy games, heist, those type of themes, right? That imply a certain manner of playing. Or is this game very narrative? And does it construe the imagined going on as a narrative to be built between the players? Or is it something very immersive in which you are your character in situation, therefore would not consider the metagame implications of the rules as narrative constructs? So that's the kind of stuff that you can specify. What is the structure of gameplay? The structure, that's probably something I will expand upon with its own video. This is what type of activities the player characters usually do by default in the game. This is not the rules, and this is not necessarily the type of campaigning. But let's take an example. In Call of Cthulhu, the gameplay structure goes thusly. There is a mystery. The players confront the mystery, investigate the mystery, find out what it is, and either die or go crazy. That's the basic game structure of Call of Cthulhu. Dungeons and Dragons, depending on the edition, can be different things to different people, right? As I explained it with the video on the Lake Geneva's playstyle, originally it was player characters are adventurers in a village. They come together, go to the dungeon through the wilderness, explore the dungeon, and before they get killed or when they run out of supplies, they go back to the village with their treasure to benefit from experience and do that all over next week. That's Dungeons and Dragons. The James Bond 007 role-playing game would be M calls you to his office and gives you a mission that is specific that you go to and try to fulfill, and then report to M until the problem is solved, right? Ghostbusters, that would be investigating supernatural threats, and up to the point you confront some type of ghost or entity and understand what's going on behind and trap it, and so on. So that's part of the precising what the characters and in the game will do as a default activity. And then you can start to tinker when those ideas percolate. You can start to decide, okay, so what would be the party of characters in this? Are these just people who meet by coincidence and become friends, or do they already know each other, or all sorts of details like this? So you start talking, individually. What would you like to play? What type of character would you like to play? And then, how do you guys know each other? It's always useful to have characters that have some type of connection with one another. That makes things like getting the group together in the game, if that is done in the game, that much easier. And that creates some basic of role-playing. Some threads to pull on for the players to banter with each other or discuss with one another, right? So one might be the twin of the other. One might have been the employee of another and might have been fired in some bizarre situation. Some might have been lovers, that are not lovers anymore. Any type of basic situation that can be very, very... Usually it's best actually when it's very simple and bare bone type of relationships. And then you build on it as you play, right? And that's where people find their tune and what works and what doesn't work as they play. Beyond that, you can decide whether the party, again, is something specialized in the world or not. Is it a party of all dwarves in D&D, all elves, all thieves? You can... is it a certain part of a certain secret society in the world of darkness, a group of hunters, a certain clan of vampires? The Sabbath, is it a Sabbath game or a Camarilla game? This is why you start talking about this, right? And so out of this, the player character, or the players know what type of characters they will create. Or the characters are already created during the session 0. That's some people do things differently, right? Or it's done during between sessions or during session 1. So that's the basic setup of the players and their characters, right? Now, the last subject that is brought up is all that is meta, right? Like the table rules. What are the expectations in terms of social gathering, right? You don't have, and I would discourage people to have for having rules that are extremely strict, because part of the pleasure of socializing with people is that, generally speaking, you can see and react to people face to face. You don't need a great many rules set in stone, but it's always good to know what's expected of people when you invite them into a certain setting or do something with them, right? So always a great idea in a role-playing game that's to bring snacks and drinks. Why? Because this is a social event. That dimension of the game should not be forgotten. This is not this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be fun, and as such, even though you might discourage people for veering into subjects that have nothing to do with the game while playing, you will want the event to feel like people come together and have fun together. So that includes junk food, pizza. Even if you eat before and then play after, there should be an element of basic socialization, and that usually involves food and drink. So who brings them? What quantity? Like everybody brings a dish. Somebody brings the pizza. Somebody else brings a bunch. You decide obviously if you want alcohol or not. Usually that's to be discouraged because, well, since you're gonna play for 6-7 hours, you might have some people intoxicated after a while. So generally speaking, alcohol is not recommended by most game masters and groups. But that's for you to decide at your own game table. Another good policy to have or decide is what to do with electronics. Are iPhones, laptops welcome at the game table? Are they welcome additions to the tools used at the game table or not? Some groups have very, very different opinions about this. I've seen some gaming groups that have each player has a laptop, and they each, take care of their personal journals and diaries of their characters and stuff as they play the game. And I've seen groups where electronics are absolutely banned from the table. Generally, personally, I'm not a big fan of electronics at the game table. I prefer it to be a tabletop game, really, with the physical dice and the ohs and ahs of looking at what other people do rather than looking at the screen. But that's just me. Otherwise, always to have a good, clear policy about what to do if you're not coming. One, phone first. Tell me that you're not coming, so I don't wait for you forever with the other players, right? you want to have some type of indication to the players of what rating your game is gonna be. You know, whether it will be PG-13, mature. That will give a tone to people. Is swearing okay? How much gore are we talking about? Right? Will we talk about some difficult subjects of society, like say, I don't know, incest, corruption of politicians, colonialism, racism, those kind of things? Or are we better to avoid those kind of topics at the game table? And that's down to the taboo subjects, which include those subjects, those general topics that the game master will allow or not in the game. No politics, no religion, those kind of things. And that also involves the players who might have some hang-ups because of past experiences. Some people will just not want to talk about any type of topic that touches at a personal issue of theirs. And it's better to know it up front and then deal with it. And finally, like it's worth detailing a little bit that it all comes down to how well you know your players, and there is a difference between playing with friends and playing with unknown people, and also the venue, whether it's public or not, whether you play in a game store, at a convention. As a general rule, the less you know your players in advance, the better it is to have clear rules and a clear session zero, or at least create a single page advert or that summarizes what the game is, what the basic rules are, either in the game, for the game, or outside of the game, the expectations, social expectations, and to basically be able to hand it out to people who might call by and want to play. If you play a demo game at a game store, or if you have an open table in a convention. Generally, once this session zero is over, and you have decided what the standards of the game and the expectations are, it's a bad idea to change them. So people who will be added later to the game must basically agree to the terms. Negotiating and redefining the terms after the fact is rarely, if ever, a good idea, because you're going to basically reopen Pandora's box, and you're going to sooner or later create exceptions, even though you might not want to, and that will invariably create some issues at the game table. The golden rule here, as always, is clarity of communication solves most issues. Once you're clear, once people, and that's the whole point of the session zero, once people know what is expected of them, what the game is about, and what they're supposed to do, then everything's going to be fine. Right? People who don't want to be there, who don't want that kind of game, simply won't come, and that's fine. And so you will ensure that everybody is having fun together, playing the same activity, and that's the goal here. Now it's your turn. What about game session zero? Are you yourself using game session zero? How do you talk to your prospective players about the game? How do you get to decide together what to play, how to play, what the social rules are for the gathering, and so on and so forth? I want to hear from you in the comment sections, or you can always contact me via social media. If you liked what you saw, you can like, subscribe, and we'll see you later for another topic of tabletop role-playing games and adjacent subjects. In the meantime, you have a good day and game on!